Hello there. I am going to share some recent writings with you. My name is Tricinda Wilder, and I'm sharing some poems and a crazy story, and we will see what happens here. So, just wanted to share because one of my favorite friends wasn't able to attend the writing group the other day when I was reading, so I told her I would put it on YouTube so she'd be able to hear it. So we enjoy each other's writings, so it's a real honor to be able to do this. So here we go. The plagued village of Villanelle. The whole village swarmed with intrusive black bugs. A plague fell upon us, shiny eyes, vesper wings. We wore ourselves thin with big scratches and tugs. We vacuumed the durries, the sissels, the rugs. We cleaned every single one of those things. The whole village burst with intrusive black bugs. They lit right upon us like greedy, vile thugs. They cared not a damn about our slappings and swattings. We wore ourselves thin with big scratches and tugs. One man alone was calm and quite smug. He stood at the pulpit fondling his rings. The whole village buzzed with intrusive black bugs. The priest's unique name sounded like Beelzebugs. Said he likes to watch us dance wildly and sing. We wore ourselves thin with big scratches and tugs. His pointy proboscis did ruin his mug. Said he'd make it all stop if we'd bring him more bling. The whole village itched with intrusive black bugs. We wore ourselves thin with big scratches and tugs. So, that make you itch? Well, that was inspired by my going into my closet and finding a scorpion that was on the rug. So, this next one is Dying Cousins. Your spray killed my cousins, and they died in dire pain. On their backs, leg churning upward, they cycled to nowhere. My sorrows unnoticed like tears in the rain. Your poison infiltrated each cockroach brain, exploding within shells which did groan, crack, and tear. Your spray killed my cousins, and they died in dire pain. You looked at the bug sign with disgust and disdain, and thrust in my heart an ache I cannot bear, my sorrows unnoticed like tears in the rain. Your hatred of us you'll never explain. Your superiority over us you laud, yes, you dare. Your spray killed my cousins, and they died in dire pain. Our families died from the sea to the plain. I think of them all, and my emotions do flare, my sorrows unnoticed like tears in the rain. In your haughtiness, complete innocence you'd feign. You killed all of us all, and with nary a care. Your spray killed my cousins, and they died in dire pain, my sorrows unnoticed like tears in the rain. So the inspiration for this was that after my husband applied some insecticide, I discovered some dying cockroaches on the floor of the house. Okay, here's one that'll bring a tear to your eye. The Old Pussycat. The old pussycat is truly stiff, dead. Her body lay in the fallow cornfield. Let's go right now and wash her old bed. She just had 2 kittens, one black and one red, but no milk would her mammaries yield. The old pussycat is truly stiff, dead. The kittens were found crying at her poor head. From her side the babies we peeled. Let's go right now and wash her old bed. Before very long, the poor kittens we fed with a bowl full of milk that sometimes we spilled. The old pussycat is truly stiff, dead. Our parents will have the cats sleep in the shed, but our plans for them will soon be revealed. Let's go right now and wash her old bed. They'll feel much safer nestled 'tween our heads. In the shed, sometimes death blows are dealt. The old pussycat is truly stiff dead. Let's go right now and wash her old bed. My friends in the writing group said I should name that Rest in Purrs because that's what I wrote at the bottom, and I believe they were right. The inspiration for that was that a cat of a friend of mine passed away. Okay, this one is called Cries of a Frustrated Dung Beetle. I poked an old cow and it pooped on the ground. A dollop flew up and splashed on my face. 'Twas the liveliest poo that ever I found. But I could not grab the unmanageable mound. It shook on the earth and rattled in place. I poked an old cow and it pooped on the ground. I kept trying to push it, but I was hell-bound like an eager-jet pilot on a foreign airbase. 'Twas the liveliest poo that ever I found. Attempts to control it produced squishy sounds. The fiber content formed a delicate lace. I poked an old cow and it pooped on the ground. I needed that poop to build up my town. To my cousins and neighbors I was a disgrace. 'Twas the liveliest poo that ever I found. My anger, intestinal rope tightly wound. The prize my heart ne'er got to embrace. I poked an old cow and it pooped on the ground. 'Twas the liveliest poo that ever I found. The inspiration for that is that my doctor insisted that I increase my fiber intake. Okay, so this next one is a very short little story, and it's a history lesson for people who have not studied Martin Luther and any religion classes, because it's all about the Diet of Worms, and it's spelled in English. It looks like diet of worms, so anybody who looks at it might think they're going to go eat worms, okay? So it's an understandable mistake. The Foul History of Xander the Rooster and the Diet of Worms, and right there is the cover that I created, because I like to illustrate my stuff as well as write. Okay. The Foul History of Xander the Rooster and the Diet of Worms. In the year 1514, the frequent coupling of the flamboyantly feathered Gallus domestici, Zack and Zena Doodledoo, produced their illustrious son Xander. He turned out to be quite the crooner, possessing a most favorable voice, a voice with a noticeable tremolo that propelled him into infamy throughout all of Germany. People and animals traveled from afar to witness his morning revelry, many of them remaining for days, weeks, even years as they set up camps all around the horizon of the pastoral area that cradled and carried Xander's fine music over the dells. He was a talented worm hunter, too, and because of his protein-rich diet, he grew to be the most colorful cock of all in his family. Possessing a sharp wit, he longed for higher education and was an avid reader, pecking away daily at the pages of discarded newspapers that brought vegetable clippings and oyster shells to their humble yard. He clucked especially animatedly at the Sunday funnies. Surprisingly, his siblings bore no jealousy toward him, even though the white-glove treatment and constant adoration he received spared him the hard work and responsibility that they had to bear as Xander sang and showed off and chased the girls. As Xander matured, so does his reading progress, and he developed an interest in academia and metaphysics. In the Sunday papers, he graduated from scanning the comics and advanced to studying more intellectual articles written by contemporary philosophers. Xander appreciated their talents, and he noticed that as the news agents sold advertising space to pay the talented writers, advertisements began multiplying within the pages. One of these advertisements caught Xander's attention. Like most tenors, food was always on Xander's mind, and he became interested in the ad for a new compost bin. It promised a copious diet of worms for anyone who would nurture the barrel with some vegetable scraps, a drink of water, and a turn of the handle each day. Xander could eat an entire measuring cup of worms at a sitting and not even lose a breath, so this promise piqued his desires. But, alas, Xander had neither the funds nor the means to acquire one of the bins, so he hoped to someday ask his more muscular brothers to build a compost bin for the family. In the meantime, however, they would have to continue their daily chores until they were caught up before they could embark on the project, and sadly, it seemed that their daily chores would never end. On Xander's 7th birthday, he perched upon the fence post and sang at the top of his voice, "Eine feiste Burg ist unsere Gott," and dreamt of a birthday cake made entirely of worms. Near the end of the 3rd verse, he spied an unexpected vehicle approaching the farm. When the opulent carriage parked in front of the farmhouse, Xander stopped mid-chorus, watching as, from the carriage, out stepped the very composer of the song. The famous reformist Martin Luther was visiting all the farms in the land, requesting public support for his spiritual endeavors, and he spoke passionately about his quest. Xander listened intently to Luther's talk about his dispute of the church's view on indulgences, that materialized vehicle for procuring more and more Gutengroschen via the priest's assertion that money could buy one's release from God's punishment of sin. In between the sentences, Xander belted out some of Luther's German chorale tunes, completely stealing the heart of Pastor Luther, whose understanding of spirituality was a much kinder and affordable one that would spare the people their inheritance and their spirituality. As Luther talked louder and louder, Xander sang louder and louder, and as the two of them came to a brilliant crescendo, Xander stopped singing when he heard Luther say that his quest would lead to nothing less than a jet of worms. Xander fell silent. Not meaning to be selfish or self-concerned, alas, Xander plotted to hitch a ride with Luther, and his feathered family saw through the flirtatious actions and approved, as it meant that they might finally have a moment of peace and quiet. As Luther prepared to leave, Xander strategically nuzzled up to Luther's black boots, and since the financially challenged farmer and his wife desired to support Luther but had little money, they allowed Luther to take their prize, Xander, when they saw that they were so smitten with each other. Ecstatic, Xander could hardly believe that he was going to a diet of worms. Worms! Xander loved worms. Unfortunately, though, when Xander and Luther got to the Worms, it turned out to be only a city called Worms, which was pronounced in a very tricky German dialect. Plus, it was a town that was filled not with worms, but with writhing humans experiencing spiritual angst. Xander was glad the people had a chance for kinder treatment, but hey, a chicken's gotta eat. Disappointed and bored beyond tears, Xander did nevertheless achieve a level of fame, as Martin Luther ended up presenting and showcasing Xander not for his voice on the stage, but for the tender, tasty, buttery flesh from his pampered frame, as it became the main course for the attendees' evening meal. His flesh was so monumentally palatable that Luther made a more than favorable impression on the guests, who ended up financially supporting him, and he sent some of the money wrapped up in a parchment note to the farm couple who had so generously and unknowingly provided such a tasty meal. Xander's family missed him, but the farmer's acquisition of a compost bin and the resultant abundance of worms with the money was a sign, albeit a false one, that Xander's tenorous talents had something to do with the unexpected windfall. To this day, his feathered descendants attend to their duties and speak favorably of the shining star of their family, especially as they dine daily on the beautifully resultant fat worms. As far as they mistakenly understood, Xander had stayed abroad to attain fame, but since Facebook and Instagram were not around back then, they would never know what or where the diet of worms really was. Moral: being able to crow in one place does not mean that you will not end up as food for worms in another. Did you enjoy that one? I like doing historic humor. Okay, here's the last one. This one is a recipe, and our leader of our writing group has a YouTube channel, and in this YouTube channel she suggests that we write recipes, not necessarily for food. So because writing groups are becoming so popular now, I decided to write this: The Perfect Writing Group, a Recipe. More than ever, the desire to communicate abounds in the hearts of people who grow in the vast fields of geography, politics, spirituality, race, custom, morality, and temperament. As an effective support for writers, writing groups have sprung up, giving the members opportunities to share their work and receive feedback, as well as to also provide that supportive feedback for sibling writers. To create the perfect writing group, however, requires gathering the perfect ingredients and applying appropriate preparation techniques. The perfect writing group. Preparation time, as long as it takes. Yields, 1 happy writing group. Ingredients, makes 1 medium-sized writing group. 1 table long enough to accommodate the group, including chairs. 3+ positive souls who see the positive in every work. 3+ writers of varying ages from 1 to 101. 3+ writers grown in both local and exotic fields. At least 1 cynic to temper the others and provide comic relief, seasoned to taste. 1 writer highly experienced in teaching and or herding cats. 1 home-baked sweets. Our group leader always makes home-baked sweets. Directions. Gather ingredients in a space at a livable temperature with at least 6 inches between each writer. Remove audible distractions and needless foot traffic. Be sure each writer is lubricated according to its needs, using coffee, liquor, wine, herb tea, water, or that special punch your sister makes with lighter fluid. Place the writer with the most teaching experience at the head of the group to keep the ingredients flowing properly. Allow writers to share their work and allow time for the others to provide reactions, feedback, and suggestions, as well as time to lob questions at the contributing writer. Add an occasional dash of world-traveling writers who add their own special flavor to the experience. Repeat once per week for as long as needed. The results, a happy writing group. Special note on gathering ingredients. Including writers from a variety of fields guarantees a full-bodied flavor. Harvest-only mature writers not contaminated with the weeds of contention, sociopathy, or prejudice. New or immature writers might require tempering or tenderizing. Do so by lightly beating them until fluffy, or until their unwise tendencies leach from their psyches. For those with crusty exteriors or tough egos, peel and then whip until fluffy also. When picking writers clothed in tie-dyed apparel, beware that some might be half-baked and could be illegal to use in some areas. Happy writing. I hope you've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed sharing it with you. Even more so, I enjoyed writing it. So I hope you have the most wonderful day today, and I will see you again soon.